Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Detroit Lions fans, training camp is getting closer and two stories are developing simultaneously that deserve your full attention. One is the kind of problem every franchise in the NFL would trade for. A safety room so loaded with talent that the Lions might actually be able to turn that surplus into draft capital. The other is a quarterback situation in Indianapolis that could open an unexpected door for Brad Holmes to add a genuinely fascinating developmental piece to this roster at potentially minimal cost. Let us break down both. Start with the safety room, because this is a genuinely rare organizational situation. Brian Branch's recovery from injury has been tracking in an extremely positive direction. Dan Campbell made it clear recently that there have been no setbacks, that Branch continues to improve daily, and that he is moving closer to the final stages of his recovery process. Campbell avoided putting a specific timetable on it, which is standard organizational caution, but the overall tone of his comments was unmistakably optimistic. Branch has been spotted on the field in receiver gloves and cleats during certain activities, not a full return to football, but clear evidence that his participation in team activities is progressing meaningfully. Lions fans who have been watching this situation closely have genuine reason for encouragement. Kirby Joseph's situation carries slightly less publicly available information. But the important thing to note is that the absence of updates is not the same as bad news. He has been participating in team activities, and nothing from inside the organization suggests his Week 1 availability is in doubt. Any uncertainty around Joseph is based on a lack of detailed reporting rather than any negative signals from the coaching staff or the front office. Here is where the luxury problem comes into focus. If Branch and Joseph are both healthy and ready for Week 1, Detroit enters the 2026 season with one of the deepest safety groups in the entire league. Beyond that elite starting duo, the Lions have additional players at that position who are capable of starting for many franchises across the NFL right now. Most teams are still searching for one reliable starting safety. The Lions have the problem of figuring out what to do with 6 players capable of contributing meaningfully at the position. That kind of depth naturally attracts attention from around the league, and as preseason injuries inevitably create secondary needs on other rosters, Detroit is going to start receiving phone calls. The trade candidates worth monitoring break into 2 clear categories. Christian Izien and Thomas Harper are the least likely to be moved. Both are young, still developing, and bring the kind of positional versatility that Brad Holmes has consistently prioritized in building this roster from within. Those are exactly the profiles you protect when the situation allows. Chuck Clark and Ifeatu Melifonwu sit in a different category. Both bring experience and immediate starting caliber ability that would be attractive to teams dealing with secondary injuries or depth concerns. Of the two, Melifonwu's positional flexibility and proven experience give him the stronger trade market. The realistic return here is not a premium pick. A 6th or 7th rounder is a more accurate expectation, but Holmes has demonstrated repeatedly that he can do meaningful things with late-round draft capital, and any additional asset that comes essentially for free from a position of surplus has genuine value in his hands. The caveat worth keeping front of mind is that depth is one of the most underrated competitive advantages in professional football. Super Bowl teams do not lose in November and December because their starters get hurt. They lose because the players behind their starters are not good enough. The Lions' depth at safety is a genuine championship-level organizational asset, and the decision to trade some of that depth for a late-round pick involves real trade-offs rather than simply free value. This situation deserves close monitoring through training camp rather than a rushed decision. Now to the second story, because Anthony Richardson's situation in Indianapolis has taken a genuinely interesting turn. The Colts have reportedly given him permission to seek a trade, Indianapolis has moved in a different direction at quarterback by extending Daniel Jones, and Richardson finds himself needing a fresh start somewhere that can develop him properly rather than pressure him into an immediate starting role where he has already struggled to stay healthy and consistent. The physical profile that made Richardson a 4th overall pick in 2023 has not changed. 6'4", 244 pounds, with the arm strength and mobility combination that scouts described as generational coming out of Florida. The ceiling on Richardson as an NFL quarterback remains genuinely extraordinary when he has been healthy and operating within a functional offensive structure. The flashes of what he could become have been undeniable. The problem has been availability and the specific kind of injury vulnerability that comes with his ultra-aggressive playing style. The eye injury that cost him most of last season is the most recent chapter in what has been a physically difficult early career. Detroit makes sense as a landing spot for several reasons that go beyond simple roster logic. The Lions organization under Dan Campbell has built exactly the kind of culture where a quarterback coming off a difficult start to his career could find stability rather than further pressure. Jared Goff is unquestionably the starter, which removes any immediate performance expectation from Richardson. Teddy Bridgewater provides veteran mentorship in the quarterback room alongside Goff. Quarterbacks coach Mark Brunell has earned genuine praise for his developmental work with passers at the technical level, footwork, mechanics, progressive read improvement, which are specifically the areas where Richardson needs the most refinement to reach his ceiling. And unlike organizations that would either pressure Richardson to compete for a starting job immediately or simply write him off as a project, the Lions could offer something genuinely valuable: time to develop properly within a winning environment. The football case has a specific practical dimension beyond just development. Teddy Bridgewater's backup value, while real and experience-based, does not include the kind of athleticism that creates problems for opposing defenses if he is forced into action. Richardson's mobility, play extension ability, and arm strength create a completely different threat profile that does not currently exist in Detroit's quarterback room. For a team with genuine Super Bowl aspirations, having a backup who can do things the starter cannot is a meaningful secondary benefit on top of the development investment. The cost is the central question, and Holmes has built his entire reputation on protecting long-term assets rather than making panic moves. If Indianapolis is asking for meaningful compensation, a second-round pick or better. The math probably does not work for Detroit given everything else the front office is trying to accomplish. But if a lack of trade interest around the league drives the Colts' asking price down to something in the range of a third or later, the Lions could find themselves acquiring a former top 5 pick at a price that makes sense precisely because the rest of the league has moved on from Richardson's potential. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you trade some safety depth for a late-round pick? And is Anthony Richardson a worthwhile low-cost gamble for this organization? And type Go Lions if you made it all the way to the end. Hit that like button, subscribe if you have not already, and we will see you in the next one.